Hey everybody, it's Christy. I'm back again with another interview. Today I have Seth with me and I'm really excited for you guys to meet him, so I'm going to bring him out. Hey Seth, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today.
No, no problem. Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course, of course. So I'll start off by letting you talk a little bit about yourself and your condition so we know what kind of a background you have and then we'll go from there.
All right, yeah, too easy. So, um, let's see. About I came into the military roughly 21 years ago, and within that time, I had the opportunity to travel around the world. Right. So, the armed forces that I was in, the Air Force, great, great, great. Um, Born and raised from Detroit, the east side of Detroit, and one of the reasons why I wanted to join the military is to travel, see the world, and have different experiences. So, within that time frame, I had multiple jobs, a lot of different jobs, a lot of different uh, experiences. But the unfortunate experience that caused me to be on the show today was a time when I was in Afghanistan. Okay. And as I was traveling between FOBs, FOB stands for forward operating base. So
Okay.
you will go to one base, do some work, and go to another base and do some work. So, as I was transferring from one place of Afghanistan to another place, I was in a airplane. Okay, airplane named a C-130. The C stands for carrier. Right, 130, pretty old plane. So as I was on the plane and we were getting ready to land, if anyone knows about airplanes and traveling, but as you land, the pressure changes, right?
Right.
Up and down, the pressure changes. That's why your ears pop. But I was sitting behind an emergency door, right? Everything's fine, didn't have a problem, never any issues. But as we were landing, the pressure changed, and the door that I was on or sitting next to was not on correctly. And as the pressure, like I said, changed, I heard a high pitched sound. Even though I was listening to music, I said to myself, "That's not in the song. What is that?" Now, it's not like being on a regular airplane where the emergency door is on the side of you. In this situation, the emergency door, I was sitting right on it, so right up against it. You had the straps and everything for a seatbelt and safety, and essentially it started to come off. Okay, and I can look over my shoulder as it was coming off. Wind is blowing, and we're landing at this time. We're about maybe 200-300 feet off the ground. I can see the propellers from the plane, and everyone is ducking down where everyone is yelling, get down, and so I was getting help with trying to get off the door. And as the door came off, it hit me in the back of the head. However, I had on the helmet, and so I just had a mild concussion, nothing major. So I thought,
Thankfully.
oh yeah, absolutely. So I thought, but it wasn't like in the movies when pull you out. We weren't that high up, but it was extremely, extremely scary.
I
So,
can imagine.
so to fast forward, a couple of weeks after that, within that time frame, I would just have a bad headache. But then I started to have dreams, and the dreams were wrapped around me either coming out of the airplane, or just me not being able to help myself. And essentially what it did was I started to have a different um uh, I wouldn't say a perspective when it comes down to individuals that are responsible for your safety. I would double
Yeah.
check, triple check everything, and it caused me to have an issue with closing and opening up doors and making sure that they're locked. Kind of OCD,
Right.
but it was a little bit different because I would have an anxiety to the point where after everything happened, came back home, that when you're on the freeway and you're starting to merge over and you have cars next to extremely nervous. I wouldn't want to ride
You're
or
kind of
drive.
breaking in and out for me a little bit.
Uh-oh. Yeah,
There
can
you
you?
go. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
good.
So, but anyway, as I would merge into traffic, sometimes I would just get nervous because I see cars coming up behind me, and then I'm double checking the doors and everything. So, I really needed to go and get help, and um, that's when I wanted to get help to try to reframe my thought process.
Well, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I couldn't imagine. That's terrifying. And thank you for your service.
Okay.
Um, I I have PTSD myself, but of course, as you know, everybody has different symptoms and
Mhm,
things like that. And um, when you say you went and got help before that, you were talking about the night terrors. Is this
mhm.
something that changed your entire sleep schedule, or just something that would happen once in a while, or
Yes, it would happen once in a while because I could not control it, nor did I understand what the triggers were.
gotcha? Okay,
See, and so it took me some time to get the help that I needed to reframe certain things.
okay.
Yeah.
Now we can move into that next part. Are you in therapy or seeking therapy, or did you seek other methods for help?
So I went to therapy and I was constantly in it. And I slowed down because there were some things that the doctors would want to prescribe me, right, to kind of help me sleep or to change or kind of lower anxiety, but it was changing my attitudes. So
Yeah.
I got a new provider, right, and a new referral. And what they did was really first get a chance to know me as an individual and to understand it wasn't necessarily what I went through that was an issue. I felt as though I was not in control, right? And so if I
Yes.
feel as though I'm not in control, then I'm going to have a certain level of anxiety because at the time being on the plane, the individual, they calling me a crew chief. It was that crew chief's responsibility to make sure that their door was secure, and so that in turn caused me to have less confidence in leadership when it came down to my safety, my career. And so it wasn't until I got a very good counselor and therapist, and he communicated how important it was that that was a situation, an unfortunate situation. However, I'm responsible for the decision. Well, not the decisions, but where I want to go from there.
And your responses. Yeah.
Correct.
So, one thing I want to touch on, for anybody watching, because you proved that point too, is doctors are not one size fit all. Don't be
Mhm.
afraid to switch your doctor if you feel like they don't understand you or they're trying to take you down a path that you don't want to for your healing. So, or coping. Especially when it comes to something like PTSD, as you said, they'll try to take you down a path where you're medicated or things to help you sleep. And that's not always necessary. Sometimes you just need guidance to change your mindset. And that's
Mhm.
very important to point out. Um, Also, in the sense of, control, I'm so glad that you said that because a lot of the times people think when they have PTSD, it's something related to that situation that's causing anxiety or stress. But a lot of the time, what causes a trigger is a lack of control, universal control. You don't feel in control of a certain aspect of a situation, and that's what triggers. Because for anybody who has a traumatic event, we were not in control of that event. So control is always a big thing, in my opinion, for people who have PTSD. So I'm just really glad you said it the way you did. It was beautifully put. Um, Moving on from that, because you did say you're in therapy and it's continued and it has helped you with
Mhm.
your issues with conditions. I wouldn't say issues.
Mhm.
um, do you have, besides like opening doors or night terrors, any other kind of symptoms of PTSD or anything that's really affected your life? Or is it just mainly that stuff?
I would say it's mainly that,
Okay.
but I think what has helped was utilizing my God-given gift to connect with other individuals to help them see that there is more to life, right? And to help to remove the DIS when it comes down to disabilities and
Yeah.
just take that off, and now you have the ability to do this and that, and it's not a crutch. And there's certain times that individuals may not recognize that they are dealing with some type of post-traumatic stress syndrome without even having to go to war, just by where they're from or something that happened traumatic in their life. So
Right.
ultimately we have to take responsibility for the things that we can control and
Right.
realize that there's some things that just happened, but it did not necessarily happen to us, but it happened for us.
Right. So the way that I see it is we kind of do the same thing where we want to be a guiding light for other people. For lack of a better way of saying it, and I don't mean to sound cliche, for people who are stuck in that tunnel still,
Mhm.
where we're looking for the light at the end and it just keeps going and you're kind of tired of it. Um,
Correct.
we want to be that light to guide people out because somebody helped us in that way.
Mhm.
Um, there's something else I wanted to touch on with that too, as far as, you said people who have PTSD for things outside of the military, because that's
Correct.
where I fall in the line too. But this also falls in line for people with complex PTSD as well. So I just
Mhm.
want to add that in. Complex PTSD just means that the trauma that you went through continued for a while. And there
Mhm.
are more, because that's also what I have, is there's more symptoms involved in that, like disassociation. And I won't get into all of them because I'm sure you know most of them, but I want to add that in for anybody watching that it does help both people with CPTSD and PTSD to look at it with a different mindset. And in order to do that, you do need to reach out. Um, for me, it started with a trauma narrative. I don't know if you wrote a trauma narrative or if you needed to. Which is basically a story of what happened to you that
Mhm.
you write over and over again to get those recessed memories back
Mhm.
out to help you deal with it. Like for me, when I wrote my trauma narrative, it gave me an entire new perspective of what happened to me, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, "Wow, I'm amazing." Instead of "That's embarrassing."
Correct.
Um, and beyond that, by opening up and telling people, it kind of lessens the load and the burden. You're giving pieces of it away of a giant rock that's in your chest. It makes it a little lighter.
Mhm.
Um, and for me too, I think a part of that is forgiving whoever may or may not have been responsible or who you feel is responsible for what happened to you.
Mhm.
By forgiving them, you're healing yourself. Just holding
Absolutely.
on to, resentment or anger or, just disappointment for
Mhm.
that situation, you're never going to heal and you're never going to move on.
Correct.
And it's just, why do it to yourself? So that's just something I wanted to add to that.
Oh yeah.
But that's a really great thing that you're doing. And I love that. I love seeing it. So I'll move into one more thing because I do want to get into your achievements too. But
Mhm.
is there something that you particularly do like when you have a really dark moment and you just feel really like down and out and you can't pull yourself out of that headspace? Is there like a certain thing that you do, like an activity or a person that you reach out to help?
Sure. Yes. So there's things that I do as far as if I'm in a headspace at night and trying to get some sleep. Once I finally get to sleep and I wake up, and if I'm still in that space, I go to the gym. Now that's norm. That's my normal regime. I go to the gym maybe 6 days a week because I kind of need that, and it helps with the endorphins
That's what I
things.
need to do.
Yeah. So, but when it comes down to, just being in throughout the day, what I do is I just remove myself from white noise, right? Because I think it's important. You could either explode or implode. So if
Right.
you implode, you're going to hurt yourself and you may do things to damage yourself. But if you explode, then you may hit someone, if you will, that has nothing to do with what you have going on. So what I do is I will remove myself. I may go for a drive or I go to a park and listen to music and then just relax.
Very nice. Yeah, for me, I kind of do the same thing. For me, it's driving, and
Hmm.
I sing terribly, but I'm singing, I'll put on my favorite songs. The windows are up though, because I won't subject anybody else to that terrible singing. But, just driving down a road to clear that headspace for me. I mean, I have other mental health conditions, but when I feel myself getting built up, I immediately leave the area, like wherever I'm at. Even if I'm mid conversation, I'm leaving. I won't even give a reason, because I don't have to. And I just walk away. So, for you, you do the gym. So you, instead of, let's say, self-harming behaviors, you're doing self-improving behaviors where you can exert that physical tension that you have to deal with the, let's say, symptom or issue at hand or mindset. There you go, mindset. So with that being said, we'll move to your achievements. What achievement are you most proud of despite your conditions? This is something that you've done or you have outside since your diagnosis with PTSD.
Oh, sure. So I would say one thing that the most impressive thing I believe that I'm proud of is being able to go and get help and my daughter see it. Right. So I have an 11-year-old daughter. So the accolades and all the degrees and all of that, that really doesn't matter to me. What's most important is that my daughter can see that a man can get help. Right. So that as she grow up and she gets connected with a young man or woman, whatever happens, is that she knows that there is somewhere to go. Right. And that if an individual truly loves you, they will love themselves enough to give you the best version of themselves for you. So that I would say is one of my most and best accomplishments.
And that's beautiful that you can be vulnerable with your daughter that way, especially as a man. Men tend to be very, I'm the protector. I can't show weakness, but we don't realize that we need to show our children that we are vulnerable and that we're human, so that they know it's okay to feel that way and that they know there's a safe space to come back to in their parents. A lot of the times with mental health conditions, especially I feel like PTSD, we tend to isolate ourselves from our family and our friends to a degree because we don't want them to know, whether it's out of shame or just, you don't want to be vulnerable, you're not comfortable because that's that control thing coming back. But it's important to show and tell people that this happened, this is how I was affected, and I want you to know so that you know that I'm human and that I can be human around you, in that way. So I love that you said that because I have a 10-year-old myself, and that's something I drive home too. So I know that you also are an author just like me. So I wanted you to tell us a little bit about your book, because I know that's a big achievement in my book to be able to have the patience to sit down and write something. So tell us a little bit about your book and what its purpose is.
Okay, sure. So this book, the book is called The Black Collar Mindset, The Art of Strategic Thinking. And it was birthed out of a thought process from where I'm originally from, like I said, Detroit, married with me doing 21 years in the military, and how to get to the place that I wanted to be, but knowing the difference between what I wanted to do and what I had to do. And one of the things that I had to do was find the best way to hold myself accountable. And so within this book, there's different tools and different steps to be able to do that by having transparent conversations with yourself and realize when you are wasting time, realize when you're surrounding yourself with individuals that's not conducive to your definiteness of purpose. Okay. Realizing when you're communicating to people that don't and won't understand what you're trying to say. Maybe they're not the crazy one, you are, by still talking to the same people. So that's the type of conversations that I have. Now, it's not a hard read, but it's a heavy look within. And for those individuals that don't like, going through books. Oh, and also too, I have accountability pages because after each section it asks you, what are you going to do in the next 24 hours? And it's your responsibility to write that down. However, there's some individuals. Thank you. So there's some individuals that don't like to write things down. So it's available on audible.com.
You're breaking up a little bit.
I said there's individuals that don't like to write things down or to turn pages. So it's available on audible.com as well.
and I'm picking up a copy right after this. So I think that's great because not only are you teaching people like, hey, how long are you going to poison yourself with the people around you and the behaviors and these, vices that you're doing to escape what you should just face,
That's right.
hold yourself accountable, forgive yourself for the person you were, but move forward to be the person you're supposed to be. And
I
then
know.
the pages after, like this is your homework assignment,
Mhm.
write this down. What are you going to do? It drives that point home. I think that's absolutely amazing. But I know that you also have another website too. I'm going to put that up as well.
Mhm.
And that's setthespeaker.com. And that's your like biography. And is that, and do you offer any services there for people, or is it just kind of
Oh no, I do.
information?
Oh no, no, yes, I do. So not only am I an author, but I'm also an accountability coach. All right. And so when individuals go to the website, they can see a little bit about me and the things that I have done and see what, how we can match up. And then you can hit a button as far as having a conversation to see how I can help you to connect to your definiteness of purpose. So I offer different things. So the black collar mindset coaching, I do that. I may do
Okay.
basic podcast boot camps, experienced podcast boot camps, and then also I do one-on-one communication skills because I'm also an award-winning speaker. And so
Oh,
I help individuals to learn how to articulate themselves better so that they realize that what they say is one thing, but saying it to your audience is the best thing. So you have to understand that you want to be understood. So that's what
right.
I help individuals do.
That's amazing. So I'll bring it back with this last question for you before I end, our little interview. But is there any kind of advice or a tip that you want to make sure you tell anybody watching um,
Yes.
before we go?
Yes, absolutely. First, I want to say thank you for this opportunity. I do appreciate it. And yeah, this is an outstanding platform. What I would tell individuals is this. We're all in the same building, but different floors. And if you were to do a 360 view of your room, that is a representation of the things that you are accepting and expecting. So if there's anything that you want to change, you need to be the change that you want to see. And if you got any questions, I'm available.
That's right. And for anybody watching who has questions, I will be putting his contact information in the comments. So just reach out. He will be available. And again, thank you so much for your service, for everything today, for being on my interview and being on my page and my podcast. I really appreciate it. And we'll leave it there. I'm going to let you go and say goodbye to everybody, and we'll end it from there.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. So, with that being said, I will put his information down in the comments. I'm sliding right over to his inbox because I feel like I even have a lot to learn from him. Um, there is so much that you can do, but you can only do it if you hold yourself accountable, if you look at your past, present, and future. Most importantly, if you want to be different, you have to be different. You have to make sure that you're putting the work in. It does not come for free, it does not come handed to you. You have to work for it. And mental health conditions are not an excuse to not be great. So, with that being said, it's Christy. Thank you for tuning in to another Mentally Kills interview, and we'll see you on the next one.